And we are live. Claire, I miss you. I miss you terribly. Welcome to another exciting episode of One Patriots Place. It's never a dull moment here, bud. It's never a dull moment here at One Patriots Place. Michael, how are you this morning? Thank you so much for stopping in today and saving my life.
Well, I don't know about saving your life, and I kind of feel like that Game of Thrones meme that shuffled around the internet about 5 years ago, where one does not simply replace Claire Cooper. You don't just do that.
No,
It's just not something that you normally do. We miss Claire definitely, without any question, but
we do.
it's great to be on the airwaves with you. I kind of see what you're getting at when you come into Locked On Patriots, where you say, "I'm just showing up." I kind of like just showing up. I got to say, it's pretty fun.
Don't have to map out anything, don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Just show up and be a pretty face. That's it.
Well, that's not an easy task for me, but you know what? I'll just show up and be a face. How's that?
Yeah. I mean, I told Claire that about 2 years ago, and she told me to go to hell. And it was true, because
I cannot tell Murph to go to hell. I just
I'm
can't do it. It's just not in my DNA. I can't do it. Can't
How
do it,
you doing
Sally.
today, buddy? How'd you manage last night with the thunderstorms? Did you guys get it over there?
Yeah, we got a little bit. We got a little bit of a downpour. It's supposed to continue now throughout the next, I guess, 4 days or so. But the weekend's looking good right now. Forecast looking good. Maybe maybe a trek up to Gillette, to do a little surveying of some of the new construction that's gone on over there. Check out the new lighthouse. Get a
Yeah,
little bit of a bird's eye view before we get into training camp at the end of the month. But
right.
not all kidding aside, definitely enjoying the time right now between mini camp and training camp, and just gearing up for what's going to be a great season in New England.
Right. Have you seen the new I don't want to say it's scoreboard, the new video board that's covering what is it, the south end of the field?
Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't seen it in action yet, so I haven't
Mhm.
seen it actually turned on or seen it in a working capacity. But
It's
it's
amazing.
impressive. It is absolutely
It is
impressive.
amazing, man. I talked to people who were up at the Taylor Swift concert. Do not
Yeah.
judge people. Do not judge. Don't judge
No,
people.
no judging here.
Um, no judgment here. And said that the sound was unbelievable. Just the crowd noise that is now kept in the stadium is 10 times what it ever was. and
Mm.
and I'm looking forward to hearing that because there's been some pretty loud evenings there in Gillette over the years, and I'm not sure that this is going to make up for Tom Brady, but when he comes running out of that tunnel for his special day, it's going to be something else. I can't wait to hear that crowd reverberate that day. Michael, lots going on in the past couple of days. You and I got together and we talked yesterday, and this is the story that won't go away. Hopkins has not signed anywhere. I have not heard about a trip to any other team before. I mean, after his stop here in New England. What do you consider um, his tact? Is he just waiting it out right now? Are the Patriots playing a waiting game, or is everybody just in a holding pattern until we see what happens in training camp?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sit there and make this into some sort of salacious storyline like, oh, they're playing a game of chicken with DeAndre, and whoever blinks first is going to be the one that loses out. I don't think it's quite that sinister. I think DeAndre came into New England. I think he came into Tennessee with a plan, and that plan was to take a look at these organizations, see if there's a potential fit logistically and emotionally. And I think that when he left both places, he could see himself playing in Tennessee, could see himself playing in New England. So I think he feels like these visits went very well. But at the same time, I think it was all a part of his plan not to leave either place by signing a contract. You give up your leverage that way. And I don't think that's what DeAndre wanted to do. He
Right.
understands that there may be a team right now, dare I say, and I'm sorry to say it, but in a little bit better position to contend immediately that may have a roster spot open up, and then you can make an informed decision about where you'd like to go. And I think that's where he's at right now. I think that's what DeAndre is looking to do. And I think he's essentially trying to keep his options open for a team like the Patriots or even a team like the Titans that have already had their visits. They know how the visit went. All I can tell you is I've heard nothing but positives coming back from the Patriots
Right.
organization on that meeting, whether it be players, whether it be front office, whether it be anyone connected. Everybody feels that that meeting went very well. There's a quiet confidence that the Patriots put their best foot forward in this endeavor. So if in fact DeAndre does sign here, it'll be because the Patriots brass was able to wow him enough and convince him enough. This is the spot where you need to be in order to continue your career and maybe even chase a chip. And you know, Bill Belichick is someone that's going to be very heavily involved in that. There is an awful lot of goodwill built up between these two sides. DeAndre loves Bill, same thing in return. If they can come to a happy medium and an agreement, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see DeAndre sign here. So I'm a little more optimistic than I am pessimistic that this gets done, but I do caution everyone to know that this is not a done deal yet. And there may be a team that pops up here in the coming weeks as we inch closer to training camp. But so far, you're right. It's a two-horse race between the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots.
It really is. There was talk about Buffalo. There's talk about
Mm,
Kansas City, and personally, I think if they're within $1 million or $2 million, he's gonna take the better chance to get that ring. I've kind of
mm,
flipped my, call me a flip flop if you want, but the chance to get that ring on a 1 year deal. I do believe it's going to be a short deal. I don't think it's going to be a
yeah.
3 or 4 year deal.
Mhm,
This is probably going to be a 1 year deal. But Kansas City and Buffalo, two teams that were also, in the mix, in the talk over the past few months when
mhm,
it comes to DeAndre Hopkins, have gone out and spent some of their cap money on different little prizes there for their quarterback. What do you think that they're still involved? How deep do you think that they could get into this?
It depends. Do I think they're still involved? I think they're always lurking in the background. I mean, let's face it, these are the two teams, save for the Cincinnati Bengals, that are being chased the most right now in the AFC. And, the New England Patriots were in that position for 2 decades.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to drive up the price on your rival or put a little pressure on your rival, you mention the New England Patriots. They might be interested. Oh, we can't have the Patriots interested. We've got to hop on this. We've got to get the deal done before this happens, before he goes to New England. It's the old tactic that used to be used in Major League Baseball, Murph. We saw it for years up here. Anytime you want to drive up the price, you just mention that team down in the Bronx, and
Yep.
all of a sudden, yeah, that price is going to rise. So from that perspective, yeah, I think the Chiefs and the Bills are always going to be involved in these talks. Now, are they heavily involved in negotiations? Not from what I've heard. I haven't heard that there's anything progressing any further with D Hop than maybe just casual interest at this point. But at this point, you have to wonder, and I think it begs the question about which side needs the other more. I mean, do you look at DeAndre Hopkins and say, okay, well, he needs to go to a contender in order to continue his legacy because he wants to chase a ring? Or is DeAndre Hopkins that one step, that one player away that the Bills need from being over the top or the Chiefs need from being over the top? I mean, and it's tough to talk about the defending champions as being over the top, but there are a lot of teams chasing them right now. The bullseye is now on the Chiefs' back as it was for the Patriots for so many years. So that to me is going to be the deciding factor. That could be more of a game of chicken than right now DeAndre kind of negotiating with the Patriots or the Titans. It's going to
Right.
be, is it going to be the Chiefs or the Bills that's going to up the ante and come in and maybe steal DeAndre from any of these teams? And it's going to depend on what DeAndre wants most. If he wants a contract, but he wants a ring and he's willing maybe to take a little bit less to go to a place like Buffalo or Kansas City, it's going to be tough to compete with that.
Who do you see out there as this mystery third team that nobody has had? Where's the fit?
Hmm. It's tough. It's tough to say. I mean, you can always consider Pittsburgh lurking in the background. I
Yep.
haven't heard anything about their involvement, but it wouldn't surprise me if it came out that that is one player, one team that always keeps an eye on players that are popping up. From what I've heard, the Baltimore Ravens have backed off a little bit. I think they look at their receiver core and they look at their room. They've got some great players, that are going to be suiting up for Lamar Jackson this year and Odell Beckham Jr. Still got Devin Duvernay in that mix. The Zay Flowers that they've brought in. So that's going to be a tough receiving core. You add DeAndre to that mix, all of a sudden that's going to be lethal, but you got to wonder where they're going to position him in or what type of role he's going to be willing to accept. But at the same time, you also have to consider the Jets a possibility. And I know that the Jets have, Garrett Williams and, Alan Lazard, it's, a guy brought in over the break here, but you don't bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers to tread water. You go all in. And if the Jets are going all in, you might have some smoke, some fire to that smoke there. So those are the teams I'm watching. But if I'm the Patriots or the Titans, I'm worried about the Bills or I'm worried about the Chiefs throwing their hat into the ring here. Because to me, those are the only two teams that I think would trump an offer from either one of them, especially the Patriots.
Yeah, Chris has a really good question here. Do the Chiefs or the Bills need D Hop, or do you think D Hop needs the Chiefs or the Bills most?
Mhm.
I'll answer that first. My show. I'm going to do it. Um, I think with everything that's going on up there in Buffalo, the
Mhm.
the Bills might need him more than he needs the Bills.
That's a good
And
point.
but on the Chiefs, I don't. I believe that he needs the Chiefs more than the Chiefs need him. I mean, last year went to prove that Patty Mahomes can really get it done with lesser talent. Okay, it kills me to say it, and believe me, folks, I don't really have anything against Pat Mahomes. It's the Kansas City fan base and his mother that and his wife that really tick me off. I have never in my life said that Patty Mahomes sucked or was a terrible quarterback. It's just he's not in the conversation yet. What the hell was I talking about? But no, he has shown that he doesn't need that elite talent, and I'm sorry, Travis Kelsey is not elite talent. He's just not. I will go to my grave on that one. When I cut keys for Kansas City, he is the last thing that I ever worry about. It's everything else that's going on there. Just put somebody on him. Just hit him at the line,
Mhm.
and he's done. It's over. It's it. Michael, what do you think?
Complete agreement with you. I think in terms of teams, Buffalo needs DeAndre Hopkins more than DeAndre Hopkins needs Buffalo, especially with the Stephon Diggs stuff going on
Right.
right now. You don't know how much of that is smoke, how much of it is fire, and whether or not that could filter into the season. I mean, we've seen storylines fester into seasons, and even teams like the New England Patriots that are so good at being able to cover that stuff up. Sometimes it just rears its ugly head, and we saw that last year
Yep.
throughout the entire season. There was a lot of discontent on that team, and it does permeate, and there's no question about it. But on the same side, I also believe you with the Chiefs. I mean, they're the defending Super Bowl champions. You can make the argument they don't need anybody,
Right.
but they do have, a young core, but they do have a good amount of solid veterans. Kelsey is still a top line receiver. I don't consider him a top line tight
Not.
end, but a top line receiver in terms of what he's able to bring to the table. And, there are talented players on that squad that I know Patrick Mahomes can utilize to his advantage. So it's not life and death for them to sign DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think it's life and death for Buffalo to sign him either, but at the same time, I think Buffalo would be a little happier to see DeAndre walk through the door. Not only that, but I mean, you're also keeping him away from a division rival as well. So that would be a feather in their cap. But your guess is as good as mine as to where he ends up at this point. Only DeAndre right now, I think, really knows for sure.
I know we kind of got steered into this, and it wasn't really in the breakdown that I sent you. But what do you think of all this drama happening up there with Diggs? You you all know me. I'm a person that loves to say "I told you so," and I did. Um, do you think this can get ironed out? Do you think this kid can come in here happy, or is he, basically prying his way out of Buffalo and to his third team?
Well, first of all, I think there's two factors there that you have to consider. One is whether or not the relationship between he and Josh Allen is irreparable, or whether or not there is dialogue that can happen. Both sides are saying the right things. Oh, I love Josh Allen. You hear that coming from Stephon Diggs. You hear Josh Allen talk glowingly about Stephon Diggs.
Hmm.
These two are a pretty good combination when they're clicking and they're all in together and they're united. So if I'm Sean McDermott, that's priority one for me during training camp. Get these guys on the same page. Do whatever you have to do, have a beer summit, whatever needs to be done. Get these guys in the room together and make sure that they're on the same page moving forward. If you can repair that, then I don't think the Buffalo Bills move on from Stephon Diggs. He's still one of the top talents in the league, one of the
Right.
best route runners I've ever covered in the NFL, and really, I think an explosive talent when you take a look at his pairing with someone with an arm capable like Josh Allen. But the other factor to think about too is, has Stefan already zeroed in on his new destination? We don't like to talk about it, but players do it all the time. And his brother Trevon is a pretty good cornerback down in Dallas right
Yeah.
now. You have to wonder if maybe there is a little bit in his mind that he thinks he can go down and maybe have a better time catching passes from Dak Prescott down there, pairing off with CD Lamb. So there's a lot to think about when it comes to Stephon Diggs and the Buffalo Bills. But if this is a situation where you're looking at Diggs and Allen being able to repair their relationship, maybe repair his relationship with Sean McDermott, this is the time to do it, because when training camp hits, you want these guys on the same page. You want to get off on the right foot, and you want to make sure that it's a united front right off the bat. Teams have fallen and they've risen based on that in recent past.
Yep.
And I hate to keep bringing things back to a Patriots perspective, but it is one Patriots place I don't think
Thank
you
you.
mind, my good friend.
No.
We've seen Patriots teams that maybe weren't the most talented teams on paper, but they had a united front coming out of training camp. There was something about these teams that just made them rise to the occasion. And in a few months time, they were raising a Lombardi trophy. We've seen Patriots teams come through here where there was some discontent and some discord, and there wasn't a happy ending. So teams can be made or broken in this period right now. It's a critical time for the Buffalo Bills. They've got a lot to prove, because I think they were exposed a little bit last year into the closing parts of the season
Yep.
as to what needed to be done to stop them. If they continue that into this year, they've got a little extra competition right now. I think this could be a very, very critical time for Buffalo.
Yeah. A lot was made about the predictability of the Patriots offense last year. And up there in Buffalo, things kind of went the same way down the stretch as to um with the loss of Dayball, things got a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more, I know what's coming. I've seen this before. The playbook shrunk. It
Mm-hmm.
really did. And when Allen wasn't able to make plays with his legs, uh things got a little hairy. And quite frankly, this team is
Mm-hmm.
right now. You've got to admit, even if you're a Bills fan, that they're regressing. They've gone backwards. It's not quite the team that it was 2 years ago that was knocking on the door of the Super Bowl. They lost in the AFC title game last year. You lose in a division round. Let's see what happens this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pretty good chance that you won't be hanging that AFC East banner. AFC East banner.
Yeah, I know. You got to love it. You got to love those types of
You do.
celebrations. Very
We
Colts-esque.
Yep, exactly, exactly. If we did that in New England, we'd have to frickin' build a new wing. Have to do, you know,
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
the hall of AFC East banners. Um, we don't even celebrate AFC titles.
No.
That trophy gets handed out
Yep.
to the most valuable intern to use as a paperweight. That's what we do with those titles around here. Um, have the Bills missed the Super Bowl train from Chris? Yeah, I think they have.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have. I think they're losing top flight players over the past couple of years. Guys are taking the money and running because simply maybe they'd like to stay in Buffalo, but they can't get the same coin there, and also more so the brain trust. Losing Dayball was huge.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to continue if they have another good year. they could end up losing more coaches. We've seen it here over the
Mm,
past 20 years, Chris, that the attrition at the on the coaching staff, for one, was made up for by Tom Brady, but two, there was always a next man up in the coaching hierarchy there that had worked their way up from the bottom. Last year we didn't see that. We saw
mm,
guys that were forced into positions of coaching that they weren't ready for, that they had no business being a part of. That we said, along with everybody else in New England, what the hell are you thinking? Um, and it finally caught up here in New England. And this year, I believe that Bill's righted the ship in hiring Adrian Clem and, of course, Bill O'Brien to come
mm.
in here and plug a few holes and actually be a voice in meeting rooms that are respected and listened to. Last year, that didn't happen. I'm telling
Yeah.
you right now, that didn't happen. When Brown is sitting there getting yelled at by Matt Patricia, he's like, what the hell are you talking about? I've been
Mm,
doing this for 30 years.
mm.
Since I was a 9-year old, 6 foot, 270-pound kid, and you're going to tell me how my footwork is wrong? No, I don't think so. But Adrian Clem is a man of respect. He's a man who's played the position. He's a man who's played in the league,
Mm.
and that's going to have Matt Patricia. I don't think Matt Patricia ever played flag football. But so that's that. Yeah, I think it's going downhill.
Mm.
The Super Bowl window is, I believe, closed. I don't see the Bills getting back there, and if they can get something for Dig, go get something right
Mm.
now,
Yeah.
and rebuild you before you end up closing the window on Josh Allen, who as as you know. Um, uh, that was insane. That pop up right there. As, as you know, is fleeting. I have never been a believer in Josh Allen. I think that the addition of Stefan Diggs has vaulted him into the top five. I'm not saying he's terrible. No, yeah, I'm saying he's terrible. I've never liked Josh Allen. I giggled my ass off when they selected him on draft day. The only person that I dislike more as a quarterback is Zach Wilson, and the Jets are going to end up having to go back to him by week 6. So yeah, there you go, Michael. What do you think? Have they
I
missed
think
the Super Bowl train?
yeah, I would say probably more yes than no. I'm not willing to write them off because there is a lot of talent on that team. But something that I don't think enough people are talking about when it comes to Buffalo is the loss of Leslie Frazier as their defensive coordinator.
Whoa, good
This
pull.
is, I think, a big point that I don't
Hmm.
see a lot of people talking about. Leslie Frazier is a
Bravo.
tremendous defensive coordinator, maybe one of the best in the league right now. The schemes that he was able to dial up in
Yep.
terms of the strategic blitzes that he placed on Mac Jones 2 years ago, um, to me, is some of the best work that I've seen him do. And this is stuff that he did routinely with a lot of different quarterbacks, confusing looks at the line of scrimmage, things of that nature that allowed him to be able to put his players in place to make plays on the ball. That's what a good defensive coordinator does. I think the Buffalo Bills are really going to miss him. And I don't think that it's a situation where it's easily fixable. I don't think it's a situation where they're going to just be able to bring the next man up in and
Right.
roll with what they have. That type of leadership, that type of veteran
There's no Gerard Mayo.
savvy. Yeah, exactly. And to me, I think that's a big part of this. You lose Tremaine Edmonds. I mean, there are a lot of
Yep.
different areas where this team is now, I think, a little more defensively deficient in 2023 coming up. And to me, that's going to be, I think, a bigger factor than what this team can do offensively because there's still a lot of weapons on this club. I mean, Gabe Davis is still capable of getting out there and catching balls in the back, in complement to Stefan Diggs in terms of the backfield. Now you got Damian Harris running out there, and he can be, a back that can carry an awful lot. Dawson Knox, obviously is still someone to be able to be a formidable force at the tight end position. Hi, Claire. And that's pretty much what you got from that area. So I think in a lot of ways, I think defensively is going to be more where the Buffalo Bills need to step up and prove it this year.
But getting back to what I told you we were going to be talking about, Edelman shot down this Gronk story about Gronk stumbling into Gillette, lying down on a trainer's table, and essentially getting IV fluids before practices. And Julian called this story garbage. He called it trash. He called it bullshit.
Mm.
He called bullshit. And what do you think of this story? Is where it came from, what Edelman had to say, and should Rob himself speak out on this?
In terms of speaking out on it, I don't think Rob has to speak out on it. I think his reputation is forged and set in stone by people that know what they're talking about in the NFL. And I'm 100% behind Julian Edelman for supporting his teammate
Yep.
on this. Look, if there's one thing that does get my dander up, not too much does, Murph. I try to be very even keel. I try to be very, on the surface and
Yeah. Mike
respectful of
keeps his
all
dander in
opinions.
check. He
That's
does.
it.
He's
I
always kept
definitely
it
try
in.
to do
I'm the
that.
one that loses it.
Yes, absolutely. But when you look at falsehoods that surround players that play the game the right way and do the things to prepare the right way, that to me is where the line is crossed. And I think the line was crossed here. I think Rob Gronkowski is someone that is massively uh, misunderstood throughout
Yep.
much of the NFL fandom. And a lot of it is because of that frat boy character, that image that he likes to
Yep.
portray. Gronk's the party man. I'm going to, chug on the, I'm going to chug beers or whatever he was drinking on, the boats and the duck boats and everything that he's done around here.
Right.
Rob is a fun loving guy. There's no question about it. He has that just nature about him that draws people to him. And that's one of the things that I think people in a national setting want to take, and they want that to be his persona 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. People in the locker room, coaches of the New England Patriots, players, have said they have never played with a more dedicated player than Rob Gronkowski. Maybe just as dedicated, but definitely not more. This is a guy that was put up on a pedestal by the NFLPA, of all places.
Right.
And they teach seminars about what Rob Gronkowski did from the moment he stepped on a football field as a rookie right up until the present day, not touching his salary, investing, using his wherewithal and his
Right.
knowledge to become a sound financial football player well into your career. This is not someone that is just a party animal, a drinker, and someone that's going to, do anything he can over the top to push that image and then get IV fluids on the day
That's
of a
it.
game. Yeah, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Rob Gronkowski's legacy to me is solid. I don't think it includes that. I don't think he would ever put anything before the game itself. And that's something that I think shined through every single time he stepped on a football field, all the charity work that he continues to do in this area, as well as down in Florida since the time that he's played with Tampa Bay. Rob is a model citizen. He should be
Yep.
looked at as such. Yeah, you want to look at the fun-loving side of him. You want to, endear that fun-loving side of him to yourself. That's all fair game. But to sit there and to think that it permeated into the locker room and doesn't allow him to be serious about the game he loved to play. No, Rob Gronkowski took his job
Right.
seriously, and I don't think anything will ever come out to make me change my mind on that. Not in the circles that I've run with, and not in the people that I've spoken to.
Yeah, Patrick Chung came out and backed up with what Edelman had to say.
Mm,
I am not going to mention the man who gave this story to so many people. I think it started at TMZ. I'm not sure where it started, um, but I'm not going to give credence to it because I don't believe it. If believe me, if you see Rob Gronkowski at a party, it's because he was being paid to be there.
mm,
He was. He's being paid to be there. You know, the party trains, the party caravans, the party buses, any club that you might see him in Las Vegas, it's paid. He's getting paid to be there, and that's basically what I aspire to be.
yeah.
I don't know
No,
about
it's
the rest of
true.
you.
No, I mean, and you know what? That fun-loving, that comedic persona, I mean, that's great. That's a great
Yeah.
marketing juggernaut, and Rob uses it to his advantage. But
Yep.
you look at everything else that he did in terms of that for that phrase, Gronk being Gronk. If you're a football player, learn from what he did on the field, away from the field, and
Yep.
preparing himself to get out there each and every day. The only regret and the only black mark against um, Rob Gronkowski's career, unfortunately, was injury, folks. I mean,
Yeah.
that kept him from fulfilling his duty because this is an otherworldly talent, and in my opinion, the greatest tight end to ever suit up.
Yep.
And I don't think the argument is particularly close. I'm
Yep.
sorry, Chiefs fans, it's not. It
He's
just isn't.
no, no.
Rob is in
Oh
a class
God,
of his
no.
own.
It's not. I've never seen anybody piss themselves when Rob Gronkowski was coming at them, and
Mhm.
I mean when Travis Kelsey was coming at them. And believe me, I have when Rob Gronkowski was barreling down the field, whether it's pass blocking in the playoffs
Mhm.
or going had the ball in his hands. He's the most amazing thing I have ever seen on a football field, and quite frankly, after Tom Brady, and this is coming from a lineman, Rob Gronkowski would be my top pick in in my own personal draft. I've
Mhm.
got a little, oh God, where is it? In 2011, Rob Gronkowski was rated the number 5 blocker by PFF
Wow.
in the league.
Mhm.
That of all
For a
linemen
tight end, yeah.
for a tight
And you're
end.
talking a tight end, yeah.
Okay.
It's remarkable.
All right. I've never seen Travis Kelsey throw anything but a hissy fit, never mind a block. So yeah, it's over. It's done with. Let's just forget about it. With the AFC so stacked in talent, and the only Super Bowl place up for grab, only one Super Bowl place up for grabs, with head coaches going to be under the most pressure to get that spot.
Hmm.
That's a
My,
that's a really really good question.
that's a very good question, Chris. Awesome,
You
awesome
know,
question. Um, well, you want me to take this one first,
yeah.
bud?
Go ahead, man. Yep.
um, it's tough to say that Bill Belichick is under pressure at all, considering what you have to work with when it comes to his resume, when it comes to what he's done. His position in Canton was cemented a long time ago. I don't care if Bill never wins another game; he's still going down as the greatest head coach in the history of the NFL, just the way it is, folks. But there are a lot of rumblings, especially in this area, that Robert Kraft is not essentially thrilled with some of the difficulties that the Patriots have had as of late. He wants to return to the postseason. I guarantee you, Bill Belichick wants to return to the
Right.
postseason. They do not want to be the New York Jets next year and be forced into doing hard knocks. That's going to be a big motivating factor. No, I'm kidding, folks. But seriously, I don't think Bill wants any part of that show. So, I mean, they're going to be motivated to try to get back to the playoffs this year. And look, there is a certain aura that comes with the New England Patriots, a
Yep.
playoff mystique that really, I think, has been eroded a little bit in these last 2 or 3 years. Even though the Patriots did make a playoff run in 2021, they went out pretty quickly, and most people are not looking at that as them as a team that you have to fear any longer. I think the Patriots are going to try to return to some of that football this year. Unpredictable, very versatile, and I think in a lot of ways they're trying to build a team that's going to allow them to do that, both on offense and especially on defense. You saw Matthew Judon talk about this team and talk about defensive unicorns. Talked a lot about that on Locked On Patriots the last couple of weeks because it truly is chameleons that can come in and play different roles on this defense, and you really don't know where these guys are going to align.
Right.
Jabril Peppers said a couple of weeks ago that one of the good things about having Devin McCourty no longer on the team, and really it was almost blasphemous when I first
Right.
read the
Right.
quote and
I
I
hit the
heard it.
floor.
I was like, one of the good things about not having Devin here, I was like, what? And then all of a sudden, you look at what his reasoning
Hmm.
was, is that Devin was so locked into his role, everybody knew what he was going to do. He was
Yep.
so good at it. And I don't know if there will be another safety to come through these doors that did what Devin McCourty did each and every
No.
day.
Never.
But it also forces teams now to wonder who's going to align at the three because you've got Adrian Phillips that can do it.
Yep.
You've got Kyle can step in, meaning Kyle Duggar to do a little bit of a
Yep.
role, or you could have Jalen Mills pop back down and play a little free safety as well.
Right.
All these guys can do it at a high level. On the offensive side of the board, you've got guys like Ty Montgomery who can play a hybrid running back, wide receiver.
Right.
Kendrick Bourne, I think, is going to be involved a lot more this year. Mike Gesicki is a glorified wide receiver, but he can play the tight end. How much better does he make Hunter Henry? You know,
Right.
I think in a lot of these respects, that's what the Patriots are building. So when I look at pressure, to answer your question, Chris, I do look at Bill Belichick under a lot of pressure, but I think he's building a team that's going to allow him to take that pressure off. Throughout the AFC East, there are a lot of pressure on a lot of different coaches. Sean McDermott, you mentioned before, Murph, about his
Yep.
Super Bowl window closing. Is
Yep.
he on the hot seat if they can't get to that level? Robert Saleh, if he can't get Aaron Rodgers to bring the Jets to the next level, what does that make him? And then, of course, you've got the offensive genius down in Miami, Mike McDaniel. Does he
Mm-hmm.
start to look a little bit like a suspect hire if Miami doesn't fulfill their obligations? There's pressure all over the place in the AFC East. I really think it's an equal slice of the pie at this point.
Yep.
That's probably a cop out, and I'm sorry to do it, Chris, but I can't think of one coach that's under more pressure than the other. I know the national media wants to put the spotlight on Bill, and I think there is sufficient pressure on him. For the first time, he's equal to his counterparts in the AFC East, but I don't think he's eclipsed them. There's still a lot to be determined this year in that division.
I'm going to go outside the AFC East. Mike covered that really well. John Harbaugh.
Mm,
Harbaugh had better do something this year. All right, he really has to. They went out. They brought in the
especially with yeah,
players.
especially with that roster.
With that roster, he needs to do some. He needs to not only get to the playoffs this year. He needs to get to the playoffs and excel. It might not be Super Bowl or bust, but it better be damn. He better get damn close to it.
Mm.
Yeah, little notes in the chat room that just keep freaking me out here. Could McDermott be Tampa Dungy?
Hmm. Would McDermott be Tampa Dungy? Well, you know, say what you will about Tony Dungy. He's got a Super Bowl title under his belt.
Yep.
Until Sean McDermott gets to that level, I don't think you can put him in the same category. So, yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I think this is a good question. I think it's a very valid question, but at the same time, no, I'm not going to compare these two
Yeah.
just yet until Sean beefs up that resume a little bit. But I can see where you're going with it. I think it's
Yep.
a good one.
There you go. Give me the breakout player this year on offense, Mike.
Uh,
Your breakout player.
Kendrick Bourne. I don't know if that's necessarily a breakout, but I think it's a bounce back, and I think
Yeah.
that's going to be just as important. Look, a lot was made of Kendrick's usage last year. A lot was made of his difficulties. He fell out of favor with the coaches. He wasn't really locked in or dialed in. I can tell you that a lot of the locked in, dialed in conversation was debunked by a lot of the people that I spoke to
Mm-hmm.
close to the organization that I trust very deeply. So I don't think it was an attitude problem with Kendrick last year. He
No.
loves being a Patriot. He
Right.
wants to continue to be. I think Kendrick built up an awful lot of trust and an awful lot of goodwill with the coaches that trusted him in
And respect
2021.
from his fellow players. You know.
Exactly. Guys like Josh McDaniel, Mick
Mm-hmm.
Lombardi. Well, they were in Las Vegas last year. He was
Right.
dealing with a whole new regime. So, as a versatile weapon, I think Bill O'Brien is really going to love this guy. He can align in the slot, he can align on the outside. We've seen him do both. Um, his technical prowess, where I really love Kendrick's game, is when he wins from either alignment. When he aligns either in the Z roll or he
Yep.
can really look comfortable assisting in the slot. We've even seen him line up at the X. I mean, that's not something that I think
Right.
they want to do a lot, but if you need to, he can give you that level of success. He can even carry the ball out of the backfield. We've seen him be successful on a jet sweep, on design runs. So if he puts those skills into practice, I think he can be an explosive playmaker and maybe an X factor lurking below the surface for the New England Patriots. Mac Jones loves this guy. I think that he's a potential security blanket for him this year.
Yep.
You don't have Jacoby Myers, who was his go-to last year. I think he's going to look to Kendrick a lot because there's a level of trust there that was built when Mac was a rookie. So, yeah, I look for him to be a breakout, but keep an eye on Ty Montgomery as well. I really want to see if he can carry over what we saw from him in minicamp and then put it into practice on the field in training camp and into the preseason.
My guy is Thornton, the Slim Reaper.
Mm.
He's going to have that fantastic sophomore season that he, so many of us in the business look for out of young weapons, uh, young talent that gets brought into the league. Thornton got kind of put behind the 8 ball last year with injuries, with that fractured clavicle that he can't stop jumping into piles, please. Please, if you weigh less than my big toe, you should not be doing that. Um, but he's the man
Mm.
that I think he's not going to be a safety blanket by in any way, shape, or form. That's just not his game plan. It's not where he's playing from. But he's a guy that's going to make big plays this year, and he's a guy that's going to be used down at the goal line in situations where it's not going to get driven in on the ground. He's a fantastic target down there, and I'm expecting big things from him this season. That's
Mhm.
just my 2 cents. Hey, but our buddy Pete Prisco, I say that in all sarcastic glory, put out his list of top 100 players. Pete Prisco, not a fan. I mean, not a friend of the podcast. Definitely not a fan of, or a friend of the New England Patriots. He had one Patriot that was in his top 100, and that was Matthew Judon, and he was at 99. What do you think of this statement or this comment by Pete?
Well, first, Murph, I want to know who approached you. Was it Prisco or was it Sims?
It was Sims.
Good. We'll call your wife to tell her what flight you're on.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's really. I think when you look at Michael Corleone's face in that
Yep.
scene where he's looking across from Carlo, yeah, that's probably the look I had on my face when I was looking at the Prisco Top 100. Look, I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to disparage Pete. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but
Yep.
Matthew Judon is higher, in my opinion, than the number 99 player in
Right.
this league. 15 and a half sacks last year. What he's done to revolutionize the way this team plays defense again, and just the camaraderie and just the level of enthusiasm that he brings to the table each and every game that he plays, to me is something that should be ranked higher than he is. So I think Matthew Judon was ranked way too low
Right.
on this level, and for that reason, I believe that the Patriots deserve better. But I also believe that the Patriots deserve more players
Right.
on this top 100.
There goes my follow-up question. Yeah, go ahead.
I really, really am disheartened by the lack of attention that Kyle Duggar gets on a
Yeah.
national level. This kid is not only someone that understands the game of football, he understands the way the Patriots play this game of football. I'm going to steal a line from my good friend here on the other side of the screen right now. The Encyclopedia Britannica is not an easy book to read. I don't care if you're on offense or I don't care if you're on defense. But
Right.
Kyle Duggar came in here from Division II Lenore Rhine with an understanding of that basically from the day he stepped on the
Right.
field. It really is remarkable. And you want to talk about um, traffic directors back there in the Patriots defensive backfield this year. Devin McCourty did it as well as anyone. Kyle Duggar is going to be that guy this year,
Right.
folks. I really do believe that. Even if he does play the strong, continues to play in the box, he's still capable of telling people where they need to be and how they need to be aligned because of his understanding. One of the biggest offseason priorities for the Patriots is going to have to be ironing out the Kyle Duggar situation. And
Right.
Murph, you said this the other day on Locked On Patriots. There are GMs right now that are wringing their
Wringing
hands,
their
just
hands.
waiting for this guy to hit the open market. uh, I don't think he doesn't hit the open market. As much as I hate to admit
Right.
that, I
I
think
got
he
I got
will be
dragged.
there.
I got
But
dragged in the comments after that. How could
yeah,
you not say that they're going to sign Kyle Duggar? But folks, it's not the fact that they don't want to.
oh, they
It's the
would in a
fact that
second.
they
They
would
want
do
him
it in a
back.
second. They
Yeah.
would do it in a second. But they don't want to overpay by $5 or $6 million a year. And and I wouldn't consider it overpaying. It's just,
Mhm.
the salary cap. Go out. This is what the Patriots do. They've done it with so many. They did it with Hightower. They did it with Edelman. They did it with Wyman. They did it with Mayo. Go out there, see what happens, and then come back and we'll work something out. I think that's their plan. But no, thank you very much for quoting me there. I really love when I get quoted. Claire never quotes me. Claire never quotes me. Um, but that's just business as usual. But just circling back,
Mhm.
for the 13th consecutive year, the NFL polled its players around the league, who they believe are the best 100 in football. The league doesn't show these results until August or September,
Mhm.
and just to keep with the 365-day NFL year. But this year they published four ballots, four um, of well, partial ballots, and two of them, Judon was in the top 10. One of them, he was in the top five. I think it was Dakota Randall over
Mhm.
at Nesson that
Mhm.
first talked about this a few months ago, and I can't see Prisco putting him at 99.
Yeah,
It's personal. It's really personal. And like you said, there are people on this not on this list that definitely should be. Mike
Mhm.
Onwenu should definitely be on this list. I think
That's a big omission
without it,
right there.
without a doubt, without a doubt. I believe that there are others on that
Mhm.
should be here. Devin Godchow is or Christian Barmore. I think Christian
Mhm.
Barmore is one of the top five defensive tackles in this league right now.
Mhm.
Maybe top 10. How can you keep somebody off a top 100 list when they're top five at their position?
Mhm. Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah,
I mean,
Ramondre.
Ramondre Stevenson single-handedly kept this offense in check at times last year when the
Yep.
disconnect between Mac Jones and his coaches were so palpable that you
Hmm.
really couldn't move the football. Ramondre was the guy that really brought it to the surface. And to me, to leave him off of a top 100 list is just, I think, very short-sighted. And maybe, I don't know, maybe due diligence wasn't
A little
done,
rude.
like you said. Yeah, but in my opinion, I think Ramondre Stevenson deserved a spot on this list because of what he did. I will say this. Ramondre's coming in with a lot of purpose this year. You can hear it in the way he conducts himself during
Hmm.
interviews. He's very focused. He's very much in command of his talent, and he knows what he can do, and he's ready to show it this year. If he's not on this list now, I don't think Ramondre is going to leave any um, I don't think he's going to leave anything to the imagination here. I think he's really going to be ready to show what he's capable of
Right.
and make sure that he's not left off these lists in subsequent years.
Right.
So
And
maybe it's a good thing,
unfortunately,
Murph.
unfortunately, we couldn't call him a breakout candidate because he's already broken out.
Hmm,
It really has.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
when you're a guy like Pete Prisco and you omit a talent like this, it's really unbelievable because I think he's one of the top five backs in the league.
Yeah.
Chris has another good question. What would what would you do with Trent Brown? Change his position, pay him more, cut him.
Ooh. It's tough for me to ever say that cutting Trent Brown would be a good idea. It's what he brings to the table to me is so much more valuable than what you'd be gaining by cap savings. And I know there are arguments to be made that the cap savings that he would bring to you is going to be beneficial for the team. But look, you need someone at that level that's going to be able to play at a high level for a good period of time and keep Mac Jones clean, keep him healthy in the pocket. Trent Brown is the guy that can do that. And I always go back to Dante Scarnecchia, who I've always
Keep him
said,
upright and
if
his
you need,
pants
yeah,
white.
exactly. And if you ever need help, who's a better consigliere than Dante Scarnecchia? There simply isn't one in
No.
professional football. He said that one of the Patriots' offseason priorities, or one of their big priorities heading into training camp, is getting Trent Brown on the same page as Adrian Clem, as Bill O'Brien, as Bill Belichick, and making sure that he's very clear in what his assignment is. I think Trent became disenfranchised last year because he thought he was coming in to play the right, and then all of a sudden Isaiah Wynn's not really doing his job,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Okay, Trent, we need you to go back over to the left." He wasn't prepared to do that. I think he's coming
Wasn't
in this
paid to
year
do that.
exactly, and that's the other thing as well. If there does have to be a little bit of a contract adjustment, maybe a contract extension, um, these are things that the Patriots may need to weigh. I mean, they know Trent's capabilities, his physical capabilities on the field better than anyone. So they're not going to extend a player that they don't feel can be beneficial for them beyond this season.
Right.
But at the same time, there are ways, creative ways to manage the money to get him to maybe have a little extra motivation on the left side. If I'm the GM right now, I don't cut him. Even the cap savings aside, I think what he brings to the table is far too valuable. I think if there is a little bit to adjust there, do it. But I keep him the way he is and make sure he's very clear in his assignment and he's happy protecting Mac Jones on the left side. Because if you do that, it strengthens the core of your offensive line tremendously. This will be a much different O line than you saw last year. Trent Brown has the capability of transforming it in that fashion. And I think you'll see that this year.
Fantastic, man, and I couldn't agree more. I think that you need to make this man happy. As I said before, he's being paid. He came back here to be a right tackle, and he ended up getting scooted over to the left. He's being paid like a right tackle and not a left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making him happy. I don't care what it takes. Like I said, you need Mac Jones to be comfortable there, and you need Trent Brown to be. Trent Brown is the man that's going to do that.
All right.
Um, whether it's some kind of incentive laden bump or a new contract with the sign. People keep talking about cutting him for cap savings.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you bringing in?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the next man up? Who's out there right now that you could bring in here and do the job, even the job that Trent Brown did last year? It's not out there. There are some depth guys out there, but no, for my money, keep Trent Brown happy. Make him, and the way to do that is to fill his pockets. Hey, bud, Kirk Herbstreit is 1,000% behind Mac Jones. Says that he's going to be a Pro Bowl player in the next couple of years. First of all, he's a Pro Bowl player already. He made the
Mm-hmm.
Pro Bowl as a rookie. But no, what did you think of Kurt? His assessment the other day? Did you hear it? Firstly,
I did. I did. And I agree with him. I really do. And Kirk knows what he's talking about.
yeah, he's not
He's
an
one of
idiot.
those guys that studies these guys for a living. He's known these players from when they were in college, and he sees the capabilities that they bring to the field. And Murph, this is why you and I and a lot of other people fell in love with this pick when the Patriots made it,
Yep.
because Mac Jones is still the ideal steward of the way the Patriots like to play offense in their glory days, whether it's under Josh McDaniels or whether it's under Bill O'Brien. He's the type of quarterback that can lead his receivers under the defense, put it where only the receiver can get it, and allow them to get yards after the catch. You're going to see that a lot this year. We've seen it already in training camp. The one thing that I really love that Mac is doing is he's commanding his huddle. He's commanding his players. They're responding to him. He's also getting a lot more control at the line of scrimmage. And this
Hmm.
is what I think is the biggest important part of Mac Jones taking that step, making that next leap to where he needs to be. You didn't see it all that much in 2021. Mac was a rookie. Josh McDaniels doesn't want to put that kind of pressure on a rookie quarterback to, really kind of put him in a position to fail right off the bat. So I think Josh did a good job from the start to try to keep Mac in check. I still feel that maybe the training wheels were on too long when it came to him in his rookie season, but I see the argument there. Last year, because of the disconnect between he and Patricia and Judge, you didn't see it. There's not that disconnect this year. Bill O'Brien trusts him, and you wouldn't see Mac Jones having that control at the line of scrimmage if he didn't. So to me, this is where he's going to be able to see the field better,
Hmm.
improve his reads, identify when he needs to use his athleticism. Folks, Mac Jones can be an athletic quarterback. He's not going to be Lamar Jackson. He's not even going to be Patrick Mahomes. But what he can do is scramble from the pocket and utilize the RPO to his advantage. Take a look at what he did in Alabama, and you'll see what I mean right off the bat. Mark Schofield joined me on Locked On Patriots last
Great
week,
show.
and we talked about the Notre Dame game where he was able to identify the blitz. He was able to utilize his ability to roll out from the pocket and then be able to make the decision of whether or not he was going to throw the pass or whether or not he was going to take it himself and utilize his athleticism in that type of realm. You're going to see more of that from Mac Jones this year, and I think he's got the talent around him to suit what he does well. Juju Smith-Schuster is someone I don't think people are talking about enough. His ability to get yards after the catch is going to really dramatically increase Mac Jones's prowess. And Mike Gesicki, I think, is going to be a weapon for him in the end zone that we haven't seen him have yet. This could be a good year for Mac Jones without any question. And it begins with Bill O'Brien's confidence in him, but it really begins in Mac Jones's confidence in himself. He put in the time this offseason. I really wish the kid well because I do think he's going to be able to show everybody what he can really do this year.
But in minicamp this year, I became enthralled with Marty Mepo. Is this kid going to come in and shake up the world? Is he somebody that the Patriots are going to depend on early and often this season, or am I just jumping the gun after seeing guys in shorts and shells?
Probably a little bit of both, but I think Marte Mapo is the real deal, folks. If it's not right off the bat, day one, stepping on the field and being a difference maker, he's really not far off from being able to do that. This kid can align anywhere. We've seen him align at linebacker. I think that's going to be his primary duty for the New England Patriots. But you want to talk about aligning back in safety? He can play the free, he can play the box. We've even seen him play corner at times.
Hmm.
This is again one of those offensive one of those defensive unicorns that the Patriots employ, and Marte really can do any of these jobs equally well. He takes direction very well.
Yep.
One of the things that you notice on the field is when a coach talks to him, he's listening. He's in the moment. He's
Right.
absorbing everything that he's essentially bringing in from the Patriots brass. And they knew this coming in. I think he has the potential to be one of the draft steals in the third round, simply because I don't think a lot of people had a lot of eyes on him. But he's one of those guys like a Kyle Duggar a couple of years ago that the Patriots just loved when they saw what he could do on the field. I expect a similar arc for him this year in 2023, and he could be an impact player for the Patriots this season.
Do you
So,
think do you think that there's any pressure on him, even being a third
mm,
round pick, and considering what we all thought, how we all thought the Patriots were going to attack this draft and go after an offensive lineman, and there were
mm,
several really good offensive tackles
yeah, there were.
still left on the board when Mapo was picked.
Yeah, I think so. I think inherently, anytime you're picked in the first 3 rounds, there's pressure on you coming in. You're expected to be an impact player for this team in short order. Now, obviously, a first round pick like Christian Gonzalez is expected to come in
Right,
and be an impact player day one. That's a whole new level of pressure. But second and third rounders, I include third rounders in that. Yeah, there is, especially when Patriots had multiple needs at multiple positions.
right.
But
And they
Marte,
went with something that wasn't really a glaring need.
that's a good point. And I've heard a lot of people say that, like, really need another safety because don't forget he's listed as a safety
Right.
when it comes to, the draft boards. The Patriots list him as a linebacker, which I think is very interesting. It's going to
And
be
telling. Yeah.
really, telling as to how they plan on using him. But yeah, I think there is a level of pressure that's going to be put on Marte. But everything that I've seen from him in training camp, in mini camp, well, excuse me, not training camp yet, but in mini camp, in OTAs leading into training camp, tells me he's up for the challenge. I think this kid's got the stuff to be able to live up to that. So I can't wait to see what he can do in training camp. That's going to be the litmus test for me in
Yep.
terms of what type of impact he can have this year, or if we're still a year away.
Right. Now Mapo was wearing a red non-contact jersey the entire time.
Hmm.
He's recovering from a pectoral tear,
Hmm.
and I for one wasn't even sure that he was gonna get out there. The
Hmm.
thing that impressed me the most about him was the way he directed traffic.
Yeah.
Right. The kid's a rookie, and he's
Hmm.
out there telling veterans where they should be lined up.
Hmm.
And he did it right. And the vet just nodded his head, or the other rookie just nodded his head and
Hmm.
said, "You're right," and
Hmm.
moved. And this kid has an IQ that is borderline genius from what I'm hearing and what
Yeah.
I'm reading from other people. And I can't wait to see him healthy. I
Hmm.
really can't. It's going to be something special. I've said on more than one occasion that when I went back and watched film of this young man, I found myself closing my eyes and just listening to him play football. The speed and the speed and the authority that he hits people,
Hmm.
it is ungodly. It's
Yeah.
ungodly. You hear it. You hear every single hit that this young man makes, and I can't wait to get to it. Mike, I want to thank you so much for stopping by today, keeping me sane, keeping me be focused. Usually Claire is here to do that, and nobody does that job as well as she does. We miss you, Claire. We do. It would have been nice if
We
the
do.
three of us had been here, and but our time's up. I can't believe it. The hour just flew right by. I want to thank everybody
It did.
in the chat room. I want to thank Buddy over there at E2G Sports for making this all possible. Some fantastic questions today out of you guys. Um, and the special surprise guest that was in the private chat room that just kept freaking me out the entire time. Mike, tell everybody where they can check up on your fine work, where they can find you on the socials.
Oh, thank you, my friend. It was always an honor, always a pleasure to join you on the microphone. It was
It
nice flipping the
was.
script a little bit and being the guest. But yeah, I can get used to this. But no, all kidding aside, folks, you can check me out each and every day on the Locked On Patriots podcast. You can definitely see a familiar face, several familiar faces each and every week because both Murph, Claire, and even our good friend, the resident voice of
There
reason,
you
Steve
go.
Balestrieri, making some appearances. It's always a lot of fun when these two sides collaborate. My heartfelt thanks to Buddy and everyone over at E2G Sports for allowing Locked On Patriots to embrace you as our own, and we do appreciate that. But bottom line, you can catch me each and every day on the pod, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So smash that subscribe button. You can find all of my written work, doing a three-part series on potential Patriots
Nice.
MVPs. Two are already published. Offense
Yep.
dropping today, so check that out at si.com/NFL/Patriots at Patriots Nation of Sports
Fantastic,
Illustrated.
Michael. Again, thank you. I want to thank all of you out there for listening and watching and making us the most listened to downloaded Patriots podcast on 6 different planets. We hope to make that Earth one day, one of those. You know, no problem. Until next week, I'm Thomas Murphy. He's Mike Diabate. Claire Cooper is in relaxation mode. We can't wait for her to be back. Thanks again. We'll talk to you. Go Pats.